This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I am going to call this meeting to order. And welcome to the July 31st. You started recording? Good. School committee meeting, and I'm going to have us roll call in. Mayor LaChapelle?
Here.
Maren Goldstein?
Maren Goldstein here.
Thank you. Megan Harvey?
Megan Harvey here.
Ben
Hersey here.
Sam Hunter?
Sam Hunter here, and I just want to say in regards to my name, and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with my video. I came in under the name Sam because that is what is synced to my Google account. I did legally change my name. It legally went through last week. And I did not anticipate making a big deal about it tonight. And then I realized as soon as I logged on that was what it said. So I'm fine. I don't know what we have to do in terms of the record. I'm fine with continuing to go by Sarah if that is what we have to do. But I don't know that it is, because I was hoping to ask Sue Colby about it actually. But I don't know that we have to, because I imagine if somebody changed their name because they were getting married or something, we probably wouldn't need to put it on the agenda.
Correct.
Right.
That's my understanding. So
Okay, cool.
I think you're good. And you're
All right.
here. Laura
I am
Scott.
here.
Laura Scott, present.
And Cindy Kuzinski, present. All right. Do we have any correspondence?
We have one correspondence to report. We have an email received from Sandra Carr asking some questions about the Director of Special Education position search, inquiring sort of how it's being processed, what's going on with it, which I believe all relevant parties have responded to, and so is closed. That's it.
Okay. And do we have any gifts?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Okay, we're going to open this up to public comment. I am going to ask that you let us know you want to speak, and you say who you are and limit your comments to 3 minutes. So if anybody would like to speak, please do so now. Signal. Let's see. And we will give it a few minutes. So I am really glad some people from the public were able to use this site, because the one we got in our email was wrong. All right. I do not see anybody who wants to talk. Right now, I'm going to give it one more minute, and then we're going to close public speak. Okay. All right. So we are going to, do you see somebody? Okay. I thought I heard something. All right. We are going to close public speak, and we have a school committee discussion item, which is, someone wants to join the call. So hold on. All right. And we have an EL presentation. So Superintendent Benenda, actually, I don't see the superintendent right now.
I'm here.
Okay, good. There you go. All right.
Also, is just wondering if Julie Ann and Sally are here. Do you see them on here?
Julianne is here. And who else are you looking for?
They're both here.
They're there.
Good. All right.
You need to share your screens. Shall we make you a co-host?
I think I'm going to need to share my screen.
Yes.
Thank you. Wow, that was fast. Thank you, Megan.
I had some time in the beginning to look at the options.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right. I can't see anyone anymore.
That's okay. We can see you and we can see your presentation.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'm going to start us off by introducing the other members of the presentation. So obviously, Maureen, our superintendent, is here and will be presenting with us. And Nick, representing the business office, is here as well. And if there are any questions about budget. And then I can't see Nick's face when I say that. This is the problem.
But Nick, he is here.
And he's nodding that he's going to be able to answer any questions you have. And then we have Sally and Gabriel, who are here representing our English Learner Program staff. I think you all can see each other and the slideshow, which is amazing. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is the guidance that we have in terms of service delivery for our English learners. We're going to address some of the points from the corrective action plan that was in place from 2020 to 2023. Just at the end of June, we were released from the corrective action plan, having met all the criteria. Then Sally and Gabriel are going to present about our English learner population in Easthampton and the current program as it stands now. And then we'll switch to Maureen and Nick for some budgetary considerations around this programming, and then end back with Sally and Gabriel about what the future could look like. So starting with the guidance, this is just, if you're going to do all the math when we talk about caseloads and scheduling, et cetera, then you should just keep in mind that ESL instruction for our students in Easthampton at the foundational level is 90 minutes of instruction, and at the transitional level, it's 45 minutes of instruction. You'll see as we get to the high school that it's a little bit different at the high school. I'm just going to check on your faces for a second. Everyone's doing good? Great. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So in the corrective action plan, so in 2020, and I addressed this at a previous meeting, but just to review quickly, in 2020, we were submitting our self-assessment to the Department of Education for our EL program. And we were using information from our 2019 student data year to talk about what we felt were the needs of our program. And we didn't, very intentionally, we did not paint ourselves in a very flattering light, because we really needed to see where the issues were in our programming. Sarah Mochak and I were both brand new to being EL program directors, and this was a great opportunity to get some feedback and some guidance around how we needed to build the EL program in Easthampton. And in those 3 years, we spent quite a bit of time on Zoom, mostly because right after we submitted our self-assessment, we went into Zoom World, and we spent a lot of time on Zoom with David Valade and Albert Mossad and other experts in the area of EL education, so that we could address the issues that the state then cited for our corrective action plan. The corrective action plan included students participating in access testing. We had a lot of issues with keeping student data, which you'll see repeats throughout this list, all now which have been addressed. The home language survey review and screening procedure, also an issue with how we were inputting student data. Number 3 was the same issue, including how we were monitoring for home language surveys. The ESL curriculum was because we didn't identify that there was a curriculum that we had consistently implemented across the programming, because we didn't have one. And again, this is in 2020 when we're just starting to figure this out. We also struggled in benchmarking and progress monitoring our students, communicating with our families, including, and many of you on the school committee, I think have heard about this in several places, that we didn't have consistent processes for translation and interpretation. There was an issue with how we were providing scheduling for newcomers, how we were reclassifying and opting out students, how we were training our general education teachers around the programming that we had adopted, which was sheltered English immersion programming, and then how we were evaluating those programs. So all of this came to us in 2020, and we spent 3 years working to make sure that we addressed every single one of the criteria that was in the corrective action plan. And as of June, we've met those criteria. I know I'm presenting to everyone. I'm just trying to get to the next slide. Oops, no, I don't want to go there yet. Okay, so just to summarize this slide, these were all issues that I think were brought to City Council and School Committee over the past couple months. And an argument that was made was that we haven't actually met these criteria if we don't have as many staff in our program. And I just want to be very clear that the corrective action plan is a public document. I'm happy to show you how we've met all of these pieces, but I don't want us to think that this isn't solidly in place moving forward, because it is, and the department has recognized that. Okay. That was the part that I'm responsible for. I'm now going to move to people who are much more interesting to listen to, Sally and Gabriel.
Okay. Hello, and thank you so much for this opportunity. As you know, we've got this really wonderful community. You can see here that we have students from around the world, and the families are really, really appreciating this community. They're choosing this community. Some of our families are working in the service industry. Some of our families are working in the colleges. We have a really diverse economic array of families, but the one thing that they have in common is that they really, really love this community. So much that many of our families are living in hardship in order to keep their kids in the school here. And other families are really, as I said, choosing this. For example, there's a family who could easily go back to their country, and their country provides a lot of support, but they want to stay here because they really appreciate like the caring community. Like that's not something that they find at home, they have it here. And so they want to have that. And that's part of the reason that they're being here. And again, the families love their teachers, they love the school, and they feel like it's a really vibrant community for them. Gabe, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Is Gabe?
I think, Gabe, you're muted.
Oh, okay. Is there anything? Oh,
Yeah. The only thing I would speak to is just that the families are really diverse in terms of the resources that they need, interventions. We really have to kind of individualize for our families and really build up the relationships and work as partners with families as much as we can.
Did Gabriel want to add anything else to that last one, or? I don't know if I can hear him.
Hold on, he's speaking. Sorry, he just texted, but we can't hear him, and that's a shame.
Oh.
I wonder if I try making him another co-host.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, it can't hurt.
Give it a try. I
Gabe,
do
you are
really
host.
hear his voice here.
You could also try leaving and then coming back, and we'll let you in, and we'll do whatever.
Yeah, he just left and he's going to come back. Yeah.
Whenever he needs to.
Right. Well, we'll come back to that slide with Gabriel as soon as he gets in, and I'll just go through a couple of things here. Is that okay? So we can move forward. Okay. So just in terms of our total EL population, so you have the numbers in mind. We have 7 students who are at the foundational level. So if you remember from the guidance slide, that is 90 minutes of direct ESL instruction per day. And then at the transitional level, we have 28 students, and that's the 45 minutes of direct ESL instruction. And again, that's slightly different at the high school. We also have 27 students, and I put at as of today because we are fluidly talking about whether students are ready to exit the program based on our criteria. So as of today, we have 27 former English learners. So those students have to be monitored by our EL teachers as well as by their general ed teachers, and then any special education or other service providers. We also have 1 student who opts out of English learner program. Sometimes it's 2. Typically, families have very specific reasons why they want to opt out of our programming. So that's our full population. Oh, but the students who opt out also are monitored by the EL teachers. Sorry. So that's our population. All right. Is Gabe vocal?
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Did you want to add to this slide?
No, that's okay. We can keep going. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
All right, Sally, passing it to you.
Okay, so on the elementary level, we have 16 students for this year coming, and that's similar to last year. It's a little bit less. We screen most of the students in kindergarten, and through that, we determine that and the home language survey if students are requiring services. And so we still have a few more students to screen in the fall. So this number could change a little bit. Last year, it was my first year in the district, and we added 2 students but lost 1. So there is a little bit of possible fluctuations. Gabe, do you want to add anything?
No, that's fine.
So at the middle school, we have 11 students total. 2 of those students are in substantially separate special education programs, but they still do receive services. But they don't necessarily get grouped into foundational level or transitional level. We also do have 1 student at the foundational level and then 8 students at the transitional level. At the high school, we have 8 students total. They are all in transitional level. And though we do, under the guidance, only give them 45 minutes of direct ESL instruction. At the high school, the students—
Julianne, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Can you go back 1 slide? You just switched very quickly, and I want to make sure I had it right. I'm so sorry.
No.
So that's 1. Okay, thank you. All right, now go forth.
Okay.
Thank you.
So at the high school, students take ESL for their English credit while they're in that class. And so they actually get an 84-minute block for their class. All right. Gabriel, I think.
Great. Right. First of all, I just want to say how much I appreciate this time for us to be able to share about our students and our program and just all the amazing work that we've done, throughout the years for these kids and the support of the administration and school committee as well in constructing this building, because I think it's going to allow us a lot of great new opportunities for our program that we didn't have before. So I just wanted to start off by saying, that I'm so thankful for that. But back to the slide. So our EL population, as Sally said, has a very, it comes from many different economic situations and cultures and religions. And so we have a really diverse population with varying needs, and even by age, the needs start to vary academically as well. So the needs of the elementary program might look very different from the ones in the high school. But some things to know about sheltered English immersion is that as much as we love and support these kids, it's our opinion that the biggest piece is really their relationship with their classroom teachers and what they get from their general education class. So we feel our job is really mostly to support our students in being included in these general classroom situations as much as we can. And that's the goal, right? The goal is that they won't need us anymore, that we won't have to pull them out as much, that they can participate with their classmates, that they can go to all activities that the other kids can go to. So the way we support that is by obviously starting with direct ESL instruction, making sure that they have great foundational English skills to then be able to participate in the classroom. We have a lot of collaboration with the classroom teacher on how to enhance the curriculum for the students and making sure that it's accessible to them. We have a lot of conversations about the cultural assets that the students bring and how to navigate what might seem like, some things that might be conflicting, because it is difficult to live in a multicultural country. But it's really wonderful to just see kids be kids and navigate those situations in their own way. It's really inspiring. And apart from that, making sure that the parents are as involved with the students' education as they possibly can be. So making sure that they know about kindergarten graduation or a concert or this event at the library. It's a lot of work to make sure that all of these obstacles that our students might be having just can be a little bit easier, but that takes the support of our awesome community. So I guess that'll be the next slide though. Just that, Sally.
Okay, yeah. So as Gabe talked about, the inclusion is really, really important. It's something that's really essential for our students just in thinking about their academic, social, and linguistic success in school, but also throughout life. We really value our colleagues at the school. The colleagues are very, very motivated to work with students, to work with us, to work with the families. All the teachers have their endorsement, but they go way beyond that. And we also really like to partner with everybody who sees the students. So for example, if students are also duly identified and they receive special education services, really thinking about everybody who touches that student, within the community. And so just really trying to figure out ways that we can collaborate, but also work on that inclusion piece. So part of it is thinking about what's happening in the classroom, but it's also looking beyond the classroom to the lunchroom, looking to the playground, thinking about the more that we can collaborate, the more that benefits the students.
Great. One thing I forgot to note that I felt was important about some of the varying needs of the students is that there might be attendance is a big thing for students that sometimes they struggle with. So one thing is communicating with the classroom teacher ahead of time about, why one of our students might miss class a little more than others. So for example, they have to often go to Boston for, immigration paperwork, or they might have transportation issues, and sometimes that can be a big factor, or they don't have childcare. So if a child is sick, then all of the kids have to stay, for example. These are just varying things that I felt were important to note. That, I guess, part of the reason why we feel our job is so important is that we are able to develop a very intimate relationship with the families, and we're able to get a more clear understanding of what their varying situations might be. And those relationships with the families are really what make our program so strong. And apart from that, again, we collaborate with so many amazing people that, take our kids on and really support them in various ways. But that means making sure that we're examining our practices as staff, and that we are collaborating with the other teachers that are engaging with them about how their practices might be culturally responsive. I had a kid, for example, who talked a lot about ghosts, and that might be like a Halloween thing for us, like, ooh, ghosts, but for a different culture, that might be, something really meaningful to them. So to not dismiss things that kids might say is really listening to who this kid is, and the things that they bring. Apart from that, it's like we were saying before, engaging with families and the family event coordinator, and trying to establish community events for our family so that they can get to know each other. That builds relationships and ways that they can support each other as well, and facilitates little things like, learning how to use Remind, the app that we use to text families or send messages and things like that. But apart from that, the social skill development is maybe one of the most important things we do, because at the end of the day, these kids learn more from other kids than they will ever learn from us, and that's really where their language really starts to take off, because language is a tool for connection. And so when they have the motivation and the feeling of belonging, that language really starts to develop so quickly. So that is a huge component of our program, to make sure that our kids feel safe and included, and that they can navigate the very confusing and scary issues that come with moving to another country. Yeah. So that's me and Sally. Do you want to start, Sally?
You can go ahead. You can start.
Okay. Let's see. So I'm just trying to see what is not repetitive here. One thing to note is that apart from the current EL students, we also try to monitor students that have exited our program. So I don't remember what the time frame is, but of how long we have to monitor them for. But sometimes we will exit a child and we'll see that there's actually some academic regression, and so sometimes we will make a collaborative decision to re-enter them in the program. Or sometimes there's reasons why we might retain them because as I was saying, the social emotional piece is so important that if we haven't found a way to integrate them into oral community yet, that we don't ostracize them from the EL community that they've felt so safe and bonded to. I feel like we kind of went over most of this slide.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing I would add is we see Julianne went over the hours that students are that are recommended for students, but our jobs go way beyond that, just because we really, for this wonderful population, it's really important that we're individualizing and really meeting students and families where they're at. Thank you.
Okay, so this part is the budget for the L program. The budget this year, FY24, was for $135,534. What that included is 1.4 FTE for ESL licensed educators, 1 FTE for ESL paraeducator, $200 for supplies. This year, there is a position still in ESSER under the ESSER 3, which is $81,412, plus you have to pay the MTRS, so $7,327. And then Title III funding is, you can also use that for your L students. And so that was $7,551. That is being used for family engagement activities, for tutoring, for PD, and for instructional materials. Any question on that? Okay, the next slide will actually show the staffing for this current school year. So there is 1 FTE ESL licensed educator for grades K to 4. And then there is the para educator, 1 FTE for grades K to 5. There's a 1 FTE ESL licensed educator for grades 5 through 8, and a 0.4 FTE ESL licensed educator for 9 through 12. There is, looking over the number of students, we do feel that there is an additional proposed need. It's currently not funded in our budget. It would be for a full-time ESL paraeducator for grades 9 through 12. Just, a note on that. So increasing services means that we have to decrease somewhere else. So we have to look for where we would find the funding. However, we do feel that it's important for the high school program to add 1 more full-time paraeducator.
I'm hoping this is Sally and Gabriel.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. So we know we are here in this time and space, but we're really appreciating this program, and we see ways that it can be strengthened. And some of the ways we know that focusing on early childhood is really, really important. And research shows that it's really important for our multilingual students, especially. We love the collaboration we have right now, but increased collaboration is something that we're absolutely working towards, kind of strengthening that as well. We know we view ourselves as learners very much in this process. So really strengthening our inclusion work, and also really looking at engaging kids in really meaningful learning that's going to be important for them now, but also for lifelong learning. Thinking about at the high school level, but also even at the elementary level, is really the opportunities that students have for advanced coursework. On the elementary level, that looks at like advanced opportunities to participate in after-school programs, in the music programs, as do some of their peers. And then we're very fortunate right now where we have the programs for the for the translation interpretation, and really increasing our use with it, just because the families are really enjoying that, not even enjoying that, they're really appreciating that. For example, like in parent-teacher conferences, like parents have said, it's so great having an interpreter here. Like I can really share like what I need to share with the teacher. So do you have anything you want to add, Gabe?
Yeah, I guess one thing I'd like to add is the reason, one thing to consider about why a strong focus on kindergarten and potentially adding preschool to our services is that if we look long term, it will strengthen our program because our EL numbers will decrease over time when we're getting them young. Like we'll exit them faster because kids at that age are a sponge. So it's much harder to exit an EL student at those older grades than it is right at when they're young. Another thing to consider is I was so happy with Dr. Benienda's like amazing expertise, like like immediately, like I was like, whoa, she knows what she's doing here. And so when we were bringing up these areas where we as the Yale staff were struggling with the general curriculum, Dr. Benienda had some amazing suggestions, and one of them was the universal design for learning. So I was, just really happy about that, which was new information for me. One goal that I think would really benefit our district is really thinking about what the pipeline is for these students in our district, and what are the sort of bureaucratic obstacles that these families might face, So that goes along with like a lot of documents, for example, the forms they have to fill out to get a bus, or things like that, that we already have in our district, and a lot of our documents are already translated. So thinking about ways of making those documents much more accessible to our department or other educators or staff that can then be more easily shared with our families. Yeah, and then finally, it's great to think about, how the support of the Mountain View and general Easthampton community makes our program stronger, and how in return our program and all of these things that our kids bring to this district can really make our district really unique and special for all the families and all of the students. One of those being when we introduce language objectives in the classroom. This is a recommended practice for teachers that have EL students in their classroom, but it actually benefits all students because it really makes the teacher narrow down what they're going to teach, and it helps the students have a frame of reference for what they're going to be learning that day. And having that frame of reference opens up a lot of other opportunities for discussion and deeper learning. I think, as we continue to learn how to navigate, being in a multicultural society, having the expertise of these children and is really beneficial to all of us, myself included. I mean, I learn this every day. And so I think it really is preparing our students to navigate just an increasingly global world with respect and kindness and curiosity. And yeah, I think it'll make them stronger academically. And ultimately, the general population kids are so excited when they have our kids in their classroom. There's a really genuine level of curiosity that comes from introducing EL kids to the classroom. They are so excited to engage with the students and with the staff as well. So if we have, I get this almost every day, but when I take the kids out for a small group, I have just kids begging, to come with me, or, trying to ask me to learn a word in Spanish, or that they're doing Duolingo at home and they just want to practice. And it gives students an opportunity to be leaders as well in their communities, because it offers them a chance to support REL students, find places for them in the lunchroom or in the classroom, and being intellectually curious. So it has so many benefits for our community that, it's one of the things that makes me happiest is just seeing these kids learn from each other, which is ultimately like what's beautiful about our program. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We would love to take questions if there are questions now, or I just want to express gratitude to Sally and Gabe for being here and for taking time during the summer to share all of this with us. It's been really nice spending time with you on this PowerPoint, even though I know it's like weird to spend time on a PowerPoint or Zoom together, but I feel like we've learned a lot from each other, and I so appreciate them. And Maureen stepping in as a guide for us has been truly important, vital. So thank you.
Superintendent Benenda?
Yes, I just wanted to say that Marin started us off with a conversation, which included other L teachers also. And then Sally, Julian, Nick, Gabrielle, myself, we met to really, for me, to learn about the program. And I felt as though like we had such an honest conversation there. And we really, as you can see, it was a deep dive into what is the L program here. And, by the end of the presentation, it was such exhilarating to be able to come up with this slide presentation, because it told the real story and it tells the strengths, but it also says, hey, we have goals for the future for this program, and the focus on all of it is working together for the benefit of all kids by providing as many opportunities as we can, as well as involving the community and the parents. So I want to say I was impressed. I actually said that this show could go on the road with how exact it is and how positive, and it takes in every single elements that the state would look for or the federal government would look for what is a successful L program.
I'd like to just add too, I just think that it's really important for us to recognize there's been a lot of conversation over the last number of months about how this program has evolved. We've gone through a lot of transitions at the Mountain View School, and there was some transitions within this program entering into that school, just like everybody entered into the new building and had transitions to get settled into that building. And that's been a part of the ongoing process here. And it's so I think that everyone is recognizing some of those challenges, sort of as the new team of staff and students, and everybody sort of came together in the new building. That's just part of learning as a new group how to work together best. And I think that that's been an ongoing evolution process here, and will continue into the new school year. And from a financial standpoint as well, I think I just want to bring us back to the financial process that we go through, and that the leadership team that put forward funding requests back in December, January, last year into this year, as we're building out the budget, those change. The numbers that we had and we were reflecting and developing a budget at that time is the best information we have at that time, but that's not what we know. Is rarely, I should say never, it's not never, but it's oftentimes changes from January into September when we actually start the school year. And that has happened here within our EL program. It is fluctuated and adapted over the year from the moment that the leadership team developed it, from the moment that as the finance subcommittee was reviewing the EL budget as well as everybody else's budget within the school department in March. We approved it. We sent it on to the mayor, on the city council. It is continuing to evolve. Some of the information here tonight was new to me in terms of our numbers. So that's going to continue to be fluctuating until it's finalized with the first day of school and even there into the new school year, right? So this is where our process of empowering the leadership team to be supported with the budget that we create with the superintendent and then approve and send off then for them to be able to work within in the school year is how we empower our leadership team and thereby our staff. So it's just an ongoing process that we very much believe in and support and makes us a functioning school district. So thank you to everybody who's a part of that. And then also takes it into the new school year. And Nick, as our business director, being able to manage that and oversee that is a big piece of being successful in a school year. So it's just, there's a lot of steps. And I just think that it's really important for us to see this as an ongoing process. There's not any single moment that defines it or makes it fixed. We are continuing to evolve even as we head into the school year and then throughout the school year. And that's why it's so critical that we do have such important staff and also great teachers who are then working with our students. So I just want to reiterate that and support that process. And we will continue to figure out those budgetary questions that Superintendent Benenda brought up about the potential for additional needs. I know that we've heard conversations about some additional paras across several of our programs, and that's what we are, as a district, continue to look at. It's why we have reserves funding that goes into the school year to be able to pull upon if needed, and that is sort of an ongoing conversation that we empower our superintendent to work with us on. So I just want to reiterate all those pieces and hope that helps clarify how we've gotten to where we are and the continuing evolution of both the funding, but also the program as well. So thank you very much.
You did a great job of doing that, Maren. Basically, you said everything I wanted to say. I met with Julianne and the superintendent to talk about this issue. But I think the public sometimes has a hard time understanding that in schools, the population needs change all the time. And there's not a good school district that does not watch their children, watch their students' needs, and immediately things start to go and you begin to strategize for where you're going to fill those needs. And that's an important thing for people to understand. Like Maren said, like Julianne said, like Superintendent Benenda said, where we start is not necessarily where you're going to finish. And that is the whole purpose of our reserves, is to be able to fill that need when the time comes, if it comes. So any other questions from anybody? I thought it was a great presentation. Okay. I saw Sam raised their hand and the mayor. Good. And I just want to thank everybody for doing this presentation. It was really good. It was nice to hear the voices of Gabriel and Sally, as well as Julianne. I've heard Julianne describe the program in quite detail, a lot of detail, but not Sally and Gabriel, so it was nice. So let's do Sam and then Mayor LaChapelle. Sam?
You're muted. You
I
want to
muted myself and hadn't tried to tell you you were muted.
I don't know what it is about Google Meets and the mute button, but I really appreciate this presentation. I think, as Maren said, I think this is just like a really good like overview, first of all, of our EL program, but also like why we have EL programs in our state and kind of some of the philosophy and pedagogy behind them. So I really appreciate that. And also just, I think I mentioned this before, but my partner's an ELL teacher. So I feel like this is an issue that I'm always happy when we can talk about this in public, because I think a lot of families in our district don't even really know about this side of our school district. So I like the opportunity to showcase that. I had one question, which was, I know that DESE put out guidance maybe like a year or two ago, that if we had a certain number of English language learners in the district, we would need to establish an LPAC. And I was just wondering how close we are to that, and if we have an LPAC or kind of how that is looking.
If I can answer that, yes. So we're nowhere near how many students we would need, where we would be required to. But I don't want that to stand in the way of it. If there are parents who are interested, you know, we also have a CPAC that we're trying to sustain. Honestly, any parent involvement around something like an LPAC would be just really widely embraced. So no, we don't need to.
But it would be good.
I'm on board if you want to do it.
Like, send people your way if they're asking about it.
Exactly.
And for those of you who, and I apologize for using acronyms, that's a parent advisory committee. So every school district has one for special education, and it's a group of parents who like support each other and then also provide feedback to the district about programming. And so recently DESE has said that they would like for districts with a certain number of English language learners to also establish English language packs. And then I had one more question. Can I go now, Cindy? Okay, sorry, I haven't quite figured out what the order is here. Oh, I think I might have lost it. I'm gonna let the mayor go, and if I remember what it is, I'll jump back in.
Okay, Mayor LaChapelle.
As soon as you remember it, Sam, I will cede the floor back to you, so you don't forget that again. So I had a couple of questions. So one, around the staffing and how we're paying for it, that ESSER position, I remember seeing that actually in past budget presentations, the transitioning from ESSER funding to like the general budget, are there plans for that? I mean, one of the things I took away from the presentation is that the numbers, the needs, it kind of goes up, down, all around. But I'm wondering if there's a placeholder in the very beginning of next year's budget for that position to come off of ARPA, I mean ESSER 3 funding into the line item.
Are we waiting for me to take this one? Well, we have several positions in ESSER 3. This is, as you likely know, the last year that funding is going to be available. A large part of our budget process going into FY25 is going to be making decisions about what positions are going to be necessary to keep and which ones, you know, perhaps can be sunset. You know, one of the purposes of the ESSER 3 funding was to create, you know, positions and supports that students needed to, you know, be able to recover from pandemic related issues, whether it was learning loss or, you know, social emotional trauma that they may have, you know, incurred during the days of the pandemic. So, you know, I think the vision, and I wasn't the director of business services when the grant was written, but I believe that, you know, the vision was to create those supports, knowing that not all of them would need to last forever. I think the vision was probably that, you know, eventually the learning loss will be, you know, at a minimum. That being said, you know, the leadership team is going to we're going to have some pretty serious discussions, I would say, starting very early in the budget development process, because there's about, without looking at my FTE sheet, like 7 point something FTE in ESSER 3 this year. So, the likelihood of being able to keep all of that is probably small. That would be a large increase to the operating budget, as you know. However, there's going to be some positions that are crucial to keep. And, then you start having discussions about, what can we reallocate here? The supports needed change over time, as, was mentioned during this meeting. The budget that you present in late March is, it's what you have at the time with the best info you have. But by the time September rolls around, your needs may have evolved a bit. So it's going to require some pretty good conversations with the leadership team, looking at data, looking at, not just, quantitative data, but qualitative data. You need to know your student population as humans, not just numbers. And go from there. I think every district is obviously going to be facing the same, problems that we are in that department. But we do have school choice funding as well that, we can maybe, absorb a couple of the positions into that, that we, positions we want to keep. So I hope that answered your question.
Can I add one thing, Nick?
Sure.
Just by comparison, in FY 23, we had 13 positions in ESSER. So I think Nick's right. We're down to 6 or 7, but I just want to be clear, like, it's been 6 or 7 sounds like a lot, but it actually has been a gradual transition.
And I do remember that, Julianne, from the budget. It was like a dual question in, the plans is that kind of downward trend to have positions shift out of ESSER and this program in particular. I know it can be any specialized teaching. It can be hard to find that certification. So that's kind of where I was coming for on that. But that did answer the question nicely. The Head Start, it is, I know there's no room in our new school for Head Start, and Head Start's completely separate from any preschool program we do. But is there any, when we're looking at the budget, is there any way where resources could be shared? I'm not even sure if Easthampton's Head Start will be in Easthampton. I know right now it's in Northampton because they're having trouble finding space. But I just, I love the idea of expanding the program into preschool. I completely agree with Gabriel and his comments about, like, if we can really get ahead and start as soon as possible. So that might be a question that develops over time, but something that popped into my head during the presentation.
Sam?
That's a really good question, Nicole. And I did also remember my question, but I'm glad you brought that up, and I want to get back to that. I want to remember to get back to that later. I just wanted to know if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about access testing, and because it was mentioned a few times, just like, what does it look like? Who receives access testing? What are they tested on, and kind of what those scores mean?
That's a really big question.
Well, just a little blurred.
But I'll try to give you a smaller version. So access testing is proficiency of the English language testing. You're tested in 5 domains: speaking, listening, reading, writing. Nope, it's not going to come to me. And your score is then, Maureen, someone will know. Someone will come up with it. Reading, writing, speaking.
I can't think of the other one either, so.
I do access testing and I can't think of the fifth one either.
Okay.
I just have a brain cramp.
So then the scores are broken down into, yeah,
Okay.
a few different formulations, oral language score, for example, overall literacy proficiency score. So there are ways that it's broken down. So then to exit the program, you have to reach from a score of 0 to 6, you have to reach a 4.2 as an overall average score. And you also have to receive a 3.9 as your literacy score. So that's how we exit students from our program, is they have to reach the score first. Then we have a conversation about them. We talk to their teacher, we talk to their principal, we talk to their general education teachers. In the best case scenario, we also include the families in those conversations. And then the access score becomes how you exit the program. Even if you opt out, you still take the access. So it's for any student who is currently identified as in need of English language services, whether or not they are receiving those English language services. So that's our annual assessment of how our students are doing, specifically in English language proficiency.
And when they come from, like, if you have a student come in from another district, you go by what their current access score is. You don't have to redo it. Okay.
We still rescreen because we do, but that's more of like progress monitoring and benchmarking too. It's not just because we don't, but yes, we absolutely place students based on their access scores from other districts.
So and they have to be done in a certain order is the other part of it, right? So it's listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and then there's a composite score. That's the fifth.
Thank you.
I was like dancing, painting, like what else, what else is there?
Yes, you're right. That's right. The fifth category is the composite. That's right.
Right.
Thank you.
I really appreciate that explanation, just because, again, I think it's something that I wish more people kind of understood how that testing was done. And like, it is a big deal for these kids too. If it tends to take a while, is my understanding. I think it all happens like in the springtime or something like that. But in any case, like,
it takes a week. It takes a whole week. Yeah.
January. Yes. So it's one of those things where, like, in the life of our family, where my partner teaches and administers access tests, like, that's a huge week for us. And then it's just so funny because everybody else I know in education, like, nobody else is talking about it. It's like kind of a part of being a part of that culture in a way. So I just think it's good for people to kind of know a little bit more about that.
If a family opts out, can they opt back in? Like, say they're in Northampton, they opted out, they come here, and the test scores from Northampton are appropriate for the program. So can they, at that point, the family can say, hey, we want to opt in?
Absolutely.
It's not a one-time choice. Okay.
It's an every day, every minute choice.
Excellent.
Megan?
I first have a quick question. I think Nick has already answered, but just to keep it like nice and succinct. Again, I think you answered this, but the money has to come from somewhere else, and we can do that for this year. We have that one additional position in the high school. We can do that without taking away from something else that needs it, and then having another, like, we're not going to snowball an issue.
No, I wouldn't call it a snowball issue. I mean, whenever we have to create a position, I mean, your first go-to question is there something else we can reallocate? The answer to that at the high school level is likely no. There aren't too many paraeducators at the high school. I believe there's only 6 FTE paraeducators up there, and they're all in the special ed programming. Not likely something can be moved there. So we're just going to need to monitor the budget as the year goes on, and I mean, as you know, positions are vacant from time to time. You it's, you know, you're not going to know where you're going to end up until, you know, way later in the year. But I wouldn't consider, you know, any kind of snowballing effect here in terms of, you know, if that support was needed, adding it. I wouldn't consider it a major, you know,
Great.
major issue.
Thank you. I think it's helpful to just hear that we're in the realm of like, but we need the service is suggested by those who are involved, and the money makes sense, which is important. I just wanted to say that was a great presentation. Thank you, Julianne, for putting it together, kind of leading the team. I think I saw Gabe come back on, but I think Sally had to jump off. Maybe I just wanted to thank the two of them so much for the way that they reached out when they thought there was concerns that they had, the way that they worked collaboratively with the district. You guys have worked on this through what became a public and divisive like topic of conversation. And you were, I'm going to use the word unflappable again. Like, you're unflappable. You just did your jobs, which is to advocate for the children the best you can. And you did that, you know, just day in and day out. And just, it's so impressive and inspiring to hear you working together and talking about all of these issues and presenting all of it to us so that the public, you know, understands the full issue, and that everybody in the district is working together for kids. It's not one group versus another group versus, it's everybody working together. And this district, that's why this district is so great. That's why Easthampton is so great. We have the best educators and staff and admin. They care and advocate for our children. They speak up when they see a need, and then they work together to fill it. And I just, you know, I don't think you all get enough public credit for that. So, especially in the face of, you know, what became public and divisive. So thank you for doing that. I love the idea of bringing it to preschool. I think that's a huge next step for us that will be great. We've had a lot of discussions in school committee in my short time on school committee, and I know that they started before I was here with just efforts to bring a language program beyond just English language learners to younger grades. But it's all in the same spirit. And I really loved, Gabe, how you ended the presentation with just the way that it helps all learners and the culture of learning. And, you know, I felt a lot of hope as you were speaking, which was such a nice feeling. So thank you. Thank you for all of that hard work. I think I just wanted to end with that.
Great. Anybody else?
I would just like to, it was very nice to see and hear different voices from the program. You know, kudos to the team and bringing those folks forward to show, one, their engagement and support of the program, but also to come, as Megan was saying, to a comfortable conclusion based on data, both qualitative and quantitative. It's very appreciated. So thank you.
Great. So, are we ready to close that discussion? After that great presentation and everybody's feedback? Great. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, Superintendent Benenda. Again, information helps the public. And I think this was an important presentation to have. So I'm really glad we were able to do that. All right. So that really ends our agenda. It was a very tiny agenda. We have our next meetings. I want to talk a little bit about that and ask the mirror question. August 22nd will be Zoom. However, we will be meeting with the president of the city council to learn how to do hybrid on our own.
Yep.
Without having the president have to set us up like he did before. And it's our intention to start September 12th at our next, at the beginning of the school year with hybrid.
Yep.
So it would be in person, and then we would be able to have people tune in from home. I am assuming that the issues at City Hall should probably be done by September.
Oh my gosh, if they're not, yeah, no, we're on a good track right now, and we're hoping for an opening much earlier than September. Yeah.
Right. So it's our intention that we will get trained in how to do this, and that we will be having a hybrid meeting on September 12th. And then our next meetings after that are October 10th and 24th, November 14th, and December 12th. And that will close out the year. So I'm excited about that. But again, August 22nd will be, it will be remote, and we'll go forth after that. And we are ready to have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, well, Mayor LaChapelle.
Good night, and thank you all.
Maren Goldstein.
Aaron Goldstein, thank you and good night.
Megan Harvey.
Megan Harvey, thank you. Good night. And can I confirm, did our superintendent make the motion, and Sam, did you second it? I'm trying to, Ben did. Hi, Ben.
Laura made the motion, right?
Yeah, Laura made the motion.
Laura made the motion. Okay. See, I was trying to just listen and look. Okay. Sorry. And then Ben seconded it. Thank you. Megan Harvey, good night.
Okay. Ben.
Ben Hersey, good night.
Sam.
Sam Hunter, good night.
Laura.
Laura Scott, good night.
And Cindy, good night, everybody. Have a great week. Thank you all for attending.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.